Organizations have many stakeholders. Some are external to the organization and others are internal. Stakeholders have different requirements, expectations, and perceptions. Who are these stakeholders? For a municipality, some of the external stakeholders include families and businesses in the community, sports and recreation groups, special interest groups, contractors and consultants, safety and environmental regulators, transit users, and cyclists. And who are some of the internal stakeholders? Council or the board, staff, management. Stakeholders' needs are met by certain departments. These can include recreation, public safety, administration and culture, transportation, and engineering utilities like water and solid waste. Because these categories overlap, there can be challenges ensuring that all stakeholder needs are being met. One method to help ensure that all stakeholders' interests are recognized is to place each stakeholder group on a stakeholder engagement matrix. The horizontal axis indicates their level of interest in the organization, while the vertical axis shows their level of influence over the organization. Insight emerges from the correlation of interest and influence. The matrix can be divided into 4 quadrants. In the top right-hand quadrant are the stakeholders who have a high influence and high interest in the organization. They will need to be managed closely. Stakeholders who should be kept informed, stakeholders to be kept satisfied, and stakeholders to be monitored. The stakeholder groups can then be plotted onto the matrix. Families, businesses, and regulators have a high influence over the city. Consultants and contractors have a high interest but a relatively low influence. Each stakeholder group has a place on the matrix, and determining the exact placement requires collaborative negotiation. This can be a challenging but necessary exercise, because once the stakeholder groups have been placed on the matrix, the organization can then develop appropriate engagement strategies. If the organization does not engage appropriately with its stakeholders, there is potential for frustration. Some stakeholder groups may become confused, disengaged, dissatisfied, and angry. Managing stakeholder expectations involves appropriate and meaningful participation in certain decisions. Engagement strategies such as public open houses can serve to inform and consult. Other engagement strategies include regular communications, citizen satisfaction surveys, or polling as means to empower people. At the end of the day, it is the stakeholders who determine how value is to be realized from the organization's assets. By having a good sense of stakeholder needs and perceptions, the organization will be able to drive the most value.